This is the very last MacBook Pro of this generation. It's the M5 Pro MacBook Pro that I've been using for almost 2 entire months now. And the reason why this is the last of its generation is because the next one, the M6 MacBook Pro, is set to come with an entirely new design and a ton of hardware changes, which makes this both the best and the worst MacBook Pro to buy right now. So the question is, should you get an M5 Pro MacBook Pro now, or should you wait for the redesign? Well, after spending 2 months with it, I've got a lot of thoughts. But before that, this awesome design right here is actually free from our ribbed ripple pack, which you can find in our app WallpaperZ. Every single one of our packs comes with a free design, and there's so many stunning 8K designs to pick from. And for just $5.99 a month, you can have full access to everything in our app. That's literally thousands of awesome designs made by our creators. So give all of your devices a stunning fresh coat of paint with our app WallpaperZ for iOS and Android by using the links below. Okay, so because this is the last of its kind, I kind of want to give you my thoughts on not just this M5 Pro MacBook Pro, but also this entire generation as a whole. Because you see, unlike pretty much any other laptop manufacturer on the market that updates their laptop design every single year, Apple usually updates theirs every 4 to 5 years. For example, in 2012, we got this guy, the Retina MacBook Pro, which was an absolutely incredible piece of hardware back at the time, with the world's first Retina display, full solid-state storage, all in a very thin design by 2012 standards. 4 years later, and Apple gave us this 2016 generation, a generation that was plagued by issues. It had this insanely thin butterfly keyboard that kept on breaking. It also removed the function row of keys in favor for this controversial touch bar, and it also removed all the ports in favor for USB-C, another disliked move. But the biggest issue with this generation was the fact that it was plagued by thermal and reliability issues. Some of you may even remember the videos I did back in the day about how my 2018 MacBook Pro kept on crashing and rebooting multiple times per day. Well, 5 years after that version, Apple gave us this generation, the 2021 MacBook Pro, the generation that I call the Redeemer, as it actually fixed the issues that the 2016 generation had, although it also introduced a few of its own problems. For example, whilst it did fix the awful butterfly keyboard and also the port situation by adding back MagSafe, HDMI, and the SD card slot, this generation was also significantly heavier and thicker than the last one. So that did feel like a step backwards. On top of that, it also added the super inconvenient notch, which I think is by far the worst part of this generation. As for people like me who use a ton of third-party apps and tools in the menu bar, most of those were now completely blocked by the notch, and hence those apps were actually rendered unusable. So to fix Apple's poor UX, I had to download another third-party app like Bartender or Barbie in order to fix that notch situation. Something that honestly Apple should have addressed themselves in the first place, which they never actually did. On the upside though, this generation did make some truly big innovations, so it wasn't just about fixing existing issues. It introduced a liquid Retina XDR display, a superb mini LED panel that was the brightest panel at the time and still is, at 1000 nits sustained and 1600 nits max in HDR. It looks incredible even today, and was also Apple's first high refresh rate display on a MacBook. Plus, let's not forget the biggest innovation of this generation, Apple Silicon, which, although it was introduced with the very last iteration of the previous generation, this generation was the one that truly embraced it, with the introduction of Pro and Max chips, alongside a chassis that was designed with proper cooling and Apple Silicon first. And this transition massively transformed the MacBook Pro to a machine that not only runs as good as the top Windows competitors, but in a lot of cases, it even defeats them in both raw performance and battery life. Also, this generation was the only generation that made these mid-cycle improvements, such as the new space black color that we got with the M3 model, and the Nano Texture display that Apple introduced with the M4 model, as well as Thunderbolt 5 support at triple the data throughput compared to Thunderbolt 4. These used to be upgrades that Apple used to keep to a new generation before. Which brings me to this guy, the M5 Pro MacBook Pro, the culmination of this generation. And I gotta say, this is by far not just the best MacBook, but the best computer I've ever used in my life, period. As you may know, I bought a 14-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro when it came out back in 2021. Then in 2023, I fully switched to this M3 MacBook Air with 24 gigabytes of RAM as I was traveling quite often and I wanted something more portable and with a better battery life. And last year I bought an M4 Pro Mac Mini, that's the unbinned version with 64 gigabytes of RAM, as my way more powerful home workstation. So those are the devices that I'm personally coming from. And this M5 Pro MacBook Pro that's also unbinned and with 64 gigabytes of RAM as well as 4 terabytes of storage, smoked them all. Long story short, no matter what I did on this MacBook Pro, whether it was Photoshop or Lightroom or coding via Cloud Code, it was just a breeze. It could handle anything and everything. And of course, having that super smooth 120Hz panel did make everything feel even smoother than it was. And unlike my MacBook Air, which often throttles its performance and runs into some heavy RAM management issues, my workflow mostly needs about 30 gigabytes of RAM or up to 40. Well, the M5 Pro that has 64 is more than good enough for that. Like, I was even able to run large local models like Qwen 3 32B, Qwen 2.5, the 72 billion parameter model, and Gemma 3 27B fully on device and paired with my OpenClaw and Hermes agent with zero issues whatsoever. And of course, unlike my M4 Pro Mac Mini, this one is fully portable. Now, if you're looking for some raw performance numbers, in Cinebench 2026 and the Silk test, the M5 Pro MacBook Pro was 15% faster than my M4 Pro Mac Mini and 30% faster than my MacBook Air and only 3% slower than a 16-inch M5 Max MacBook Pro. Because yes, the CPU between this and the M5 Max MacBook Pro is actually the same, only the GPU differs. When testing out the multi-core performance, the M5 Pro was 6.8% slower than the M5 Max 16-inch, likely due to thermal constraints of this 14-inch body. But when compared to my M4 Pro Mac Mini at home, it was 37% faster, which is very significant. And compared to my M3 MacBook Air, it was 295% faster. In fact, the M5 Pro is so fast that in Cinebench 2024, it outperformed every single Mac that we tested, including the M5 Max. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that happened, because in Blender, using the CPU, it was 8.7% slower than the M5 Max, and even 13.7% faster than the M4 Max, 44% faster than my M4 Pro Mac Mini, and 312% faster than my M3 MacBook Air. And the GPU is equally as impressive. You see, despite having half the GPU cores compared to the M5 Max, it was only 43% slower. Compared to the M4 Max, it was just 22% slower, which is very impressive. Compared to my M4 Pro Mac Mini, it is 48% faster, which is a major jump. And compared to my M3 MacBook Air, 328% faster. And when rendering this classroom scene in Blender, the M5 Pro was 31.8% slower than the M5 Max. Not a big difference considering that we've got double the GPU cores on the M5 Max, but it was 122% faster than the M4 Max, which is insane. And compared to my M4 Pro Mac Mini, it was also 41% faster. And compared to my Air, 454% faster, so just night and day here. But I guess what really surprised me the most on this MacBook Pro is its storage speed, because I managed to get about 12 gigabytes per second read and write on this, literally double of the M4 Max MacBook Pro, which combined with the 64 gigabytes of RAM on this machine, yeah, it just made anything that I did on it just fly. And in case you're curious about the AI performance, like I said, it's really good. Like for running local AI models, it's actually very impressive. I also ran some AI benchmarks, the Geekbench AI, for example, and here the quantized performance was 10% faster than my M4 Pro Mac Mini and 72% faster than my M3 MacBook Air. I also gave it one of my scripts to summarize using Llama 3.18b, and while it was slower than the M5 Max by 48%, it was only 14% slower than the M4 Max, then 14.8% faster than my M4 Pro Mac Mini, and a whopping 220% faster than my M3 MacBook Air. Still, if you are heavy into AI, I would say the M5 Max is still the better option due to having a much higher memory bandwidth, but for most other CPU tasks, the M5 Pro is just as capable, and GPU-wise, it's actually not very far off from an M4 Max MacBook Pro, which is just crazy. Plus, with the M5 Pro this year, we also get true triple monitor support, something that before was restricted to the Max chips only. Really nice. Although I did have one issue that I should probably mention. This weird GPU issue, I think, where the display would go all rainbowy and would require a reboot. This happened a few times, and Yeah, I'm not really sure what caused it. So having said all of this, should you buy the M5 Pro MacBook Pro or should you skip it? Well, if you need a MacBook Pro right now, it's a no-brainer. Just get it. You're going to be extremely happy with it because you're getting an almost M4 Max level performance, sometimes even better, for significantly less. And if you do get it, I also highly suggest going for the Nano Texture option. I've used this outside quite a lot and on trains when commuting, and it's just a joy to work from. The screen is also insanely bright at 1000 nits, and the battery life is also incredible. Although if you're like me and you use local AI models a lot and the Arc browser, which is very power hungry, you're not going to get more than 5 or so hours. But even then, I think it's quite good considering just how powerful this thing is. Now, despite all of this, despite how perfect this MacBook Pro is, I think unless you need one right now, you should wait for the new M6 version, because that one is said to be a full redesign. It's also rumored to come with an OLED display instead of this mini LED panel that does have some blooming. It's also said to feature touch support for the first time in a MacBook, also 5G, something that I've been waiting for in a MacBook forever, as I just love how versatile my M5 cellular iPad Pro is. And of course, that M6 version is also said to be even more powerful than this one. Although, it is all said to be more expensive, so do keep that in mind if you do decide to wait. As for me, well, this was just a review net from Apple. Shout out to Apple for loaning this to me. I'll definitely be waiting for the M6 version, aka the MacBook Ultra, before upgrading. But until then, I guess my M3 MacBook Air and my M4 Pro Mac Mini at home will still get a job done. But let me know, what do you guys think about this M5 Pro MacBook Pro? Will you be upgrading, or are you also waiting for the M6 redesign? Don't forget to check out our app WallpaperZ if you like this design right here, and do subscribe for more. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.